Hello, Transformers. It's with a great pleasure that we are here for the second episode of Transformers. Today we have a very special guest, Marcin Kierdelewicz, more than 25 years of experience in several tech companies, driving and leading globalization strategy and also business development, especially in Europe. And of course, on top of that, a wide range of experience on boosting growth and profitability in companies using digitalization strategy based on open source and AI-driven solution. So it will be for sure a very enthusiastic discussion here together. Marcin, I would like to ask you kindly just also a short introduction from your side and, just to give a little bit more insights about yourself to the audience.
Sure. Welcome, everybody. And Pedro, thank you very much for having me here. So just to give a bit about myself, yes, like you said, over 25 years now, working for various different tech businesses. I've actually started my career very early, think of it as the beginning, at the times where it was the beginning of Linux on one end. And I did actually, at the very, very beginning, I did a couple of SAP certifications. So think of it, my world at that time was, very large ERP systems, corporate enterprise world. And then, very beginning of what was really a hacking at that stage, very beginning of open source, the creations of Linux and so on. So I've spent most of my professional life working for various different software businesses, both big and small. I think mostly for companies who were opening a European presence. So usually American companies who want to enter European markets, where I was helping them with, established presence in Europe, opening various different offices, roles where, sales, partnerships, management, this is what you usually start with. And then, yes, and starting probably around 7 years ago now, I came up with an idea of building my second business in my life, which then we were building technology for almost 4 years at the background, as a kind of side gig. And yes, 3 years ago, we kind of launched Miami. And, what we do there is we do business process automation at scale. So think of it, we have 3-stage process. We call it draw, design, deploy. You draw business process. Actually, AI can help you now draw as well. Then, you pass it on to the developers to design it. Again, AI helps you with a little bit of that once it's developed. Yes, it's fully automated deployment as well. And yes, we believe that's kind of, a future of IT will not be just for IT people. So everything we build is actually more for, think of it, a business, or we call them business power users, so business users that understand technology. But, those are actually the best people, we believe, to actually build IT solutions, because now it's not just only about having skills to write the code. Actually, we think that, making a translation from business requirements into what you're going to run and how you're going to run it is more important than the code itself. And, as Gen AI is kind of showing us, a lot of code creation you can automate, which we have in our systems as well.
In fact, Marcin, this point that you are mentioning, I think that it will be the topic for the next years. Yeah? If we look into a pragmatic perspective, I believe that what companies are more curious about technologies like Gen AI, it's their power to empower different profiles that they have in the company and allowing them to create their own automations in an easy way. If we look into the past and we look of if we look into what was promised in terms of low-code platforms or no-code platforms, what we realize in the end is that to develop in these platforms, the companies would require specific knowledge for that, and not a cheap, let's say, knowledge, and also not easy to find in the market. So I believe that they are looking into Gen AI as a way to probably boost the process of crowd innovation inside the companies, in order that they allow people without any experience of code, as you were mentioning, to develop automations, because they are the experts in the process. And connecting these a little bit with our first topic, that it's navigating in the current situation of the economical environment, and linking these with the objectives and strategies of CEOs. I would like to hear from you, Marcin, based on your experience and also in your opinion, considering the current situation of the market, so high inflation, global economic uncertainty, and also a little bit the post-pandemic effects. What do you think that are the strategies that CEOs should invest and define in order to ensure resilience and value creation in the companies?
Yes, and thank you for mentioning that, because I actually think that every recession, and I think it's like a third recession, we see on the market, during that kind of my career, is, every recession is an action opportunity. I actually believe that all these recessions create more opportunities than actually the times where, where we're not in the recession and where things are going well. Because a recession is forcing a lot of people to start thinking outside of the box. When the things are good, the management is easy. Okay, you have a growth, you just need to repeat what you're doing, maybe doing a little bit more, maybe, improve here and there. But when there is a recession, or when there is a pandemic, or, you're faced with circumstances that, are new to you and, kind of trigger a necessity to actually think in a different way, that's where the opportunities are being created. I think from a leadership perspective, we are at the stage now, really, when IT and technologies are not just available for technologists, right? So IT is no more just for IT people. I think embracing that, at the very beginning is, very important, because think of it, during pandemic, everybody started to accept remote meetings, right? You're in Lisbon, I'm in London, we're having this call. And to be honest, to me, I'm having this type of calls for probably around 20 years now, right? But still a lot of leaders didn't accept that, right? They didn't accept that change, that, hey, you can actually work, with a team that is, fairly distributed. You don't need to go and meet in the same room to actually have some sort of a progress. So I always think, think about, a couple of things. One is, make sure that you make use of that technology that you have available. Don't be afraid. Won't be afraid. I still see a lot of leaders, are being afraid of embracing the technology, right? Don't be afraid. Use recession as an opportunity to build the global teams, to work with everybody, right? I think this is very important. And then, of course, because you're all working, maybe in various different locations, I think what every leader should do, and not always everyone is using it as much as they should, really focus on metrics, on your performance and metrics within the business, right? So measure what you're doing. Okay, be data driven to making your decisions and focus on constant, and it needs to be a constant improvement of various different measures that you have within the business to make sure that you're getting a steady progress. Because again, it takes time to get whatever you want to have, but a recession, I think, is not really about cost cutting. It's not about what we say a lot, about firing people. I actually think it's the recession was a time where you actually need to start how you're going to do things differently, right? It's very easy to, let's say, cut the cost by firing people, but then firing your workforce very often means your growth will slow as well. And then very often means you have to hire people then again. So instead of what we see on today's markets, hiring a lot and then firing a lot, hiring a lot of hiring and firing a lot, right, all the time. I think what leaders should do is make it a journey to make sure that when you hire people, you hire right people, you focus on improvements, you get the metrics, so then you can hire more and then you can grow, and it's then becomes a steady grow, which then creates much, much better cultures within the businesses as well. People stay longer, you have much more integrated teams, and all of that just works much better for the leaders themselves as well.
Mm-hmm. In fact, you were mentioning one point that it's that I agree absolutely with you with this sustainability approach. I believe that most of the companies, as you said, and we had a lot of examples of big companies that during the pandemic, because the services, the remote services and all the services via web were boosting during the pandemic. They were, just recruiting a lot of people on that time, expecting that the level of the volume of business will maintain even after the pandemic, because everybody knows that this period will end someday. And then immediately they, after the pandemic, they start to fire the people, or to make a huge number of layoffs in the company. And nowadays, with the situation that we are living, with all this geopolitical instability that we are living, of course, there are a lot of uncertainties. And there are a couple of strategies that were used before. One example was, for example, and I believe that we talk about it in one of our chats, Marcin, that was the strategy of outsourcing. Yeah. My view is that more and more I see that the companies are starting to think, okay, maybe I should not invest on outsourcing, mainly to boost, let's say, the effect of labor cost arbitrage, but I really need to start to look into my company and start to rise up my talent inside the company, and also bringing the part of automation to the process. Now, I believe that certainly you have already experienced these kind of companies that, they are trying, let's say, to build their automation road inside. What for you, it's the biggest challenge of the companies to have successful automation journeys, let's say? Because I'm seeing a lot companies saying that their automation initiatives are not bringing the value that they were expecting, not only from a TCO perspective, but also from outcome perspective. What it's, in your view, the biggest challenge that the companies are facing?
Yes. Thank you for that. And this is my world. I'm so happy to definitely share the experience. And look, just quickly on the outsourcing part, it's not that I think that outsourcing is a bad idea, because there are certain scenarios where, it's better to outsource, specific part of activities. But I think when we're talking about implementing automation and about improving your own business performance, outsourcing that part is kind of risky, because this is like, asking a company that only have a commercial relationship with you to run your business. And we know how it works. I live in the UK now, and we did like a lot of that in the public sector, and we know how it works, right? It just, over time, the prices go up and actually the efficiency goes down. So I always say, look, at the very beginning, take responsibility for the business that you're running, right? This is your business. You are the manager. You're the leader. Take responsibility. And if you want to improve the business performance and metrics with your automations, build internal practice, because it's your people that will understand the business, not third parties. You can hire, of course, consultants, help, and all of that, because sometimes when you do automation, you want to change the way you work as well. But do it in-house, and definitely lead it from the in-house. So take responsibility. Number 2, I would say, is commit to it. Automations are about genuine performance improvements, measured, delivered, and all of that. Okay. You cannot just say, hey, okay, let's run this little improvement project on the side. Yes, I give my blessing to it, but then leave it to others. Actually, for what we see for automation process to be successful, you want a blessing from the very top, and you want that a very top to be involved from time to time, to actually be able to understand how it progresses, where they can give a feedback and improve it, even for the implementation itself, but also help with spreading the word, because automation is about building a new culture. Right. I also think, I'm not a big fan of doing a big bang type of approach in large automation projects. I think automation is a journey, especially if you want to then, build automation at scale. And, what we do is kind of, change people's workplaces from, being a task execution, type of resource into being like a workplace manager. There's a journey. A lot of businesses haven't done it before. Even if they have, they probably have done it in different areas with different technologies for different type of businesses. So you're always going through that journey for the first time. So make sure that, when you commit to it, but then also make sure that, you are very ROI driven, and, run it in an agile way, in short cycles where you can review. Okay, we usually do reviews around 6 months time. So every 6 months we kind of review, a specific project, specific automation projects, to actually see where we are, and and review the metrics, and then make decisions on what we do next. But make sure that you don't give too much time for delivery of the automation. You don't have to have it. Everybody will tell you, we need 2-3 years. Shorten that period of time. It's better to deliver, a smaller automations and, smaller benefits, but start delivering on those benefits earlier, because over time it will just add more and more. And that's what's gonna help you with reducing risk and making sure that, your delivery is successful over those, 2-3 years period of time. So again, commit, help communicate, embrace it internally, definitely, even if you get external help for consultants, implementations, etc. But own it internally, okay? And then it's going to be much better and easier to train your people and upskill your people that understand your business and know how your company works, than getting the external people. And then shorten cycles to get ROIs on some specific a project's investments for the automations. Again, we usually say build take a use case, maximum 6 months time. If you think you cannot, because your project is bigger, actually try to slice your project in multiple smaller elements, and still deliver within the 6 months. Because sometimes you will see that, you're hitting the walls, and some things, can be complemented by different technologies and fixed and all of that. But, sometimes you will have to change the way you do things. So, this 6 months kind of review periods will be good enough for you to actually make this, okay, this is actually going, in the right direction. I like it, let's invest more, and then, do it that way versus, invest a large amount of money for 2-3 years type of projects. And then, at the end, find out, something what, a lot of companies see also in other areas, not just automation, but custom software development and all of that, which investments were not always, so good for the business.
You mentioned, Marcin, one thing that it's very important, and probably I will put also in the comments of the podcast, that it's waterfall versus agile methodology. Yeah. And I think that when I talk with several people in several companies, a little bit outside my world that I'm working nowadays, but talking with other people, what I'm seeing is that even on the automation journey, most part of the people are trying to make it as a waterfall, as a project-based phase. Yeah. And I think that this is one of the reasons why I see that most part of the companies are not getting the outcomes that they are expecting from automation. And even from TCO perspective, the fact that they are just doing one big cycle, and in the end, they are not doing, an agile approach to revisit the outcome of the automation and try to apply the continuous improvement approach. This is what it's bringing high costs for operations and maintenance in the automation space, and even from licensing perspective. Yeah. So this is one of the things that for sure I see that the companies probably need to study a little bit and try to investigate how to apply agile transformation inside the company. Because it's also important to mention, and you mentioned it very well, that in fact, when we talk about agile, most part of the people tends to associate only with development. But agile transformation, it's more than just development in an agile methodology. It's a mindset and so on. And we saw, let's say, the benefit of it in several companies like Spotify. I have also mentioned a case of Telenor, so in the telecom space, that they have implemented this kind of methodology in terms of agile transformation. And I think that this methodology, not only from automation perspective, but in several verticals, it's becoming really very important, considering the unpredictable scenarios that we are having from economical perspective. So picking up this, Marcin, and considering that you were already talking a little bit about agile methodology, from a priority perspective, how do you think that the companies should start to implement this kind of agile transformation strategy inside the company? What do you think are the most important steps, and how they should build this in an iterative way? Yeah.
Again, this is our world. We do it all the time. So, and in IT, you see agile versus waterfall, for quite a bit of time. And look, I understand both sides. I understand why people want to do waterfall, because when they have specific budgets and they have specific deliverables, they want a waterfall because this guarantees them, that certain things will be delivered at a certain time, so they can release more and more budgets. And I support that 100%. But still, I think because you're doing it, it's a journey. Very often it's a new journey. You do waterfall when you know what you're doing. When you've done it before, you probably repeat it, and you kind of, you put the templates on top and just just do it again and again and again. I think because automation is always a journey. There's going to be a lot of unexpected things that will happen on your automation journey. Okay, a lot, and be ready for that. For that reason, you cannot have like a waterfall reviews, done like once every couple of months. You actually need to have that commitment that every other week you're actually going to at least review. You're going to discuss what went well, what didn't go well. What are the blockers, where you can help, where you need to change, and so on, and build the skills and all of that. But I think the right approach is first with agile delivery, but having those milestones from waterfall in mind that you need to deliver. The only difference I would say is, sometimes in waterfall, you try to be too strict in defining the deliverables and what is that you want to achieve. If you're doing automation, look at it as what is actually the outcome that you want to have. So define it more as an outcome, not as an activities, but an outcome, because then when you work in an agile way, you will find a way how you can get to that outcome. Because sometimes it might go, one way or another. Once you start doing it, you're gonna learn, and then you will know what's working, what's not working within your organization, what is that people are ready for, what is it that like people struggle with, right? So it's never a simple answer. From implementation perspective, we actually have a 3-stage process. We call it target, achieve, more. TAM, we call it. Okay.
Yep.
And that's very important because we say first target. So define, the areas that you want to automate, and what is the space that you want to bring the automation in. Okay, it's very important because we see a lot of automation failures happen on the start actually there by picking the wrong areas. And sometimes it's not that, you pick a wrong areas because it's a wrong area, but sometimes it's because you don't have a previous experience. Okay, sometimes you just, you want to go to deliver like too much. Okay. So again, it's the journey. Better to start to do it, in stages. Learn, and we can learn to walk before, learn to crawl before you walk, right? So target areas very often, even if it's a smaller, they still should be important areas within the business. I'm not talking about picking not important areas. No, I'm talking about important ones. But, maybe the areas where, for example, the whole project is organized around, smaller teams or smaller amount of people that know each other quite well, that have worked already before, and like the communication in that area will be easier. Right? This is just as one example. So, make sure you target. It's right. Then you will say achieve. Within a 6 months period, make sure you achieve. Okay. This is a very important step because with achievement of your, of delivering a successful project and getting, to specific metrics, even if you're not there yet, but you're on a path to get them, that's already success. Okay. Make sure that you actually achieve that, because that's very important step to then do what we call do more, and building what we call that, 10x automation culture. We call it, to kind of bring it into the business, share good news with everybody and so on. Okay. But you need to achieve. You cannot leave it, for too long. Again, I think the sponsorship from leadership is very important. Because, especially think of it at the early stages, of the projects, you actually want to make sure that, yes, even if it's a smaller approach, you still deliver, and then you build on top, and then you reiterate it, okay, picking probably bigger areas, because you need to build that culture of automation. Technology exists. You can patch, you can save, and you could not even use this, any third-party software. Like you could even actually probably do a custom code for everything, which is never a best approach. But but technology exists, and there is like different ways of doing automation. But you can always do it. But create that culture to implement automations within your business, because it's not just technology. There's a lot of changes need to happen within the teams. The people need to understand that you bring a technology not to replace them. Again, it's about helping them, and very often actually like unlocking their potential, right? How many times we've seen that we were working with internal operations people, okay, who were quite resistant to do automation at the very beginning, because they were saying, hey, we're too busy. This is our backlog of things. Everybody wants, things from us. Everybody's asking, here and there. We really don't have time. But then when actually, for the same team, when we started to unlocking and, build first automations, where then internally, clients internally, like employees, instead of coming to operations, always asking, can you do this? Can you do that? They were saying, oh, actually, now I have this self-service, portal. I can request it, and it will come, straight to me. Actually, the operations teams themselves started to see, oh, so actually now we're getting like less and less requests. The stuff is still done, but now we just need to manage the flow, manage the exceptions of the processes, and things that you still need to do. But overall, after some time, they definitely we will see improvements, and that they will benefit from it. So yes, those are, I think cut it short, 3-stage process to use, target, achieve more, make sure alignment, sponsorship is there, and that would be the best way for me to start the automation.
Good, Marcin. And in your perspective, one of the challenge on these agile strategy, it's one of the things that I'm seeing in some companies is really to put the different units working together. This is one of the aspects that I see in some cases a challenge, and it's something that takes time in order to make them, with the real mindset to work together. Because normally what we see, and we see these in enterprise level, even in small, medium companies, we see that sometimes it's difficult, when you have an IT department, then to have a synchronization between IT department and operations with business and so on. So one of the key aspects that I see on this agile strategy, it's really to put all these units working together in channels in order that we can link what it's the business result expected with operations and with IT and so on. So this is one of the aspects that I see that it's the key challenge. In your experience, what is your view? Do you see a lot of challenge to bring these units all together? Or do you see that most part of the time it's an easy job? What is your view, Marcin?
I think I agree with you. The bigger company is, the more challenging it is to align, right? But I would say, there are ways actually of solving these issues, or at least trying to help solve these issues. Okay. When we do implementations, I always say, from alignment perspectives and from goals perspective, make sure that everybody will have exactly the same goals. Which is, which is a challenge, because then you're going to think, okay, but I'm IT. Why do they tell me that, that I need to have, a cost reduction as my goal on this level, where I'm IT guy, right? Operations will say, okay, this is great. But then they're telling me, okay, but the service provisioning, IT service provisioning, okay, needs to happen, like twice as fast as it's currently, right? So they were thinking, okay, so why do I have those KPIs? So go.
But Marcin, sorry to interrupt you, but this is one of the reasons why it's important to maintain all the levels aligned in this transformation journey, because one of the things that I also saw from talking with the other companies is that normally I see that not all the time the alignment of objectives between the departments are aligned. So even if you want to make an alignment in terms of outcomes, sometimes it's impossible to do that because there is not an alignment from top-down perspective. Yeah. But nevertheless, I'm seeing, some cases resulting, and one of the cases was in Telenor, that they were able to, to create an environment that even the people were asking to be part of that governance that they established, because they create a concept of a big room. So you were inside a big room, and all the charters with the analysis between all the groups, business, operations, IT, they were all in the walls. Yeah, so everybody could see what they were discussing, because in the end, it's important that the ideas of solutions should not come top down.
Yeah.
Should come bottom up. They should define, okay, what is the solution for the problem? Not ourselves or the C-level saying, okay, this is the solution, you need to implement it. Because then the awareness and the engagement of the people, it will be destroyed. So they should come with the idea. And for example, in automation, they should come with what is the idea behind the automation. Yeah. So I think that there are a couple of, best practice that can be implemented that I think that could, make more reliable these kind of solutions like Agile transformation. It's not easy. It's not an easy methodology to implement, as you know, Marcin, but I think that there are a couple of things that can bring the results to the expected level. Yep.
It's easier to say than to do, definitely. Okay.
That's right.
And, alignment is very important. And, when I was mentioning, target achieve more, that's why I was saying, picking and good targets where you have more probability of being successful at the very beginning is very important, because then when you achieve to do more, you want to have a full transparency, you want to communicate out, and this is how you invite others to join that journey. Okay, because again, I 100% agree with you. It's not a leadership that should come and say, this is how you should automate. This is not an IT that should come and say, this is how you automate. In the end of the day, that's why I was saying we call those, power business users. The business that understands the technology and they support those operations and they're doing those jobs. They are the people that are the best to actually describe what would be the new improved way of doing things, what would save them a lot of time, what is the right way to do it, right? So absolutely, it needs to come from people. And again, it needs to be done in, I believe the reason why we need to do it in an agile way, because, you cannot define everything up front. This is, again, the journey where you're going to get, some people involved. I guess hopefully at Telenor, it also was the case where it's not like everybody joined on day one. They were just earning, they were seeing what everybody else is doing, and they just wanted to join the journey, right? So I think yes, that's the way. That's why also you need to have it in an agile way.
Indeed. Thank you, Marcin. There is, there is one question that it's inevitable to not to do, yeah? That everybody is expecting, that it's, because we didn't talk yet about it, that it's about AI, yeah? Artificial intelligence. So, based on your experience, how do you see, let's say, the introduction of AI until now in the companies? So, what is their digital transformation strategy regarding AI implementation in the company, and how you are seeing the success of the implementation?
Yeah, you cannot have conversation without mentioning ChatGPT these days, right?
Exactly.
And it's not just about the ChatGPT, but look, ChatGPT is only 1 year old. Now look from a marketing perspective, what a great job these guys have done in terms of promoting, AI, because AI exists actually for much, much longer than that. And and there's technologies available for a long time. A lot of companies were actually doing AI before ChatGPT, and just everyone was skeptic of how can I let machine make a decision for me, right? And I think they still should be skeptic if they were skeptic, because it's not as simple as saying, okay, hey, ChatGPT, make all the decisions for me, right? Because we know like hallucination is still pretty high sometimes, and you need to manage that, right? You need to manage that. So I would say, look, I look at it as, AI existed before, and you need to know what is a right use case where you can apply that AI. What is the scenario where AI will really help you accelerate your efforts and will help you to be successful, right? And we're using AI for recognizing trends for like quite a long time. Okay.
Long time.
Yeah, it was before ChatGPT, right? Where we knew, okay, we see like, how your metrics are improving. Okay, that means you go in the right area, and then you can early identify that something has changed, that your performance, for example, is changing the trend, and this is the time for you to act. Not when you like get those results, you need to see where the trend is changing. So that exists for quite a long of time. All the advanced analytics, all of that, that exists for quite a long time. The generative AI, kind of brings, and vector kind of databases brings these new functionalities, which I think is great. That it makes you feel like you're getting a human response. Right.
Exactly.
And for specific use cases, actually, it will work very well. That people will not see the difference between machine and a human being, okay? Or they are very the Gen AI is very good, for instance, in a categorization type of tasks. When you have a right, you have defined, like all the answers, and you need to just say, okay, categorize that specific, I don't know, requests, or, the data that you have into, put it in the right bucket, right? So, that's where kind of vector databases kind of do a great job. But again, I think we're like with everything. Remember, it's a tool. And use it as a tool. Use Gen AI and AI, right, as a technology to help you. I think it's very, very good that all these buzz has happened, because I believe it will just accelerate the implementation. Okay, so that's like we probably progress like 5 years within a year, which is great. Okay, still. A lot of people think that AI will take all the jobs and all of that, and the robots will do everything for us. And I say, look, I don't mind if a robot is going to do my job, and I can enjoy a drink with my friends. I'm happy to do so. But we know it's not going to be like that. So know what is the AI good for. Use it what it's good for. Don't be afraid. It's a new technology like anything else you had, like a cloud, like, other transformations that you had. Definitely benefit from it, and, use it for right use case.
Yeah. I just to complement a little bit, also to give my view, is that what I'm seeing is that during this year, I think that, there were a lot of tests, like pilots.
Yeah.
Because there was a fever, let's say, because everybody when we talk about automation, everybody wants to implement Gen AI. Yeah. Even something that could be solved with rule-based automation, they want to implement with Gen AI. Yeah. So I think that there was a moment of fever with all these, let's say, amazing job that, by the way, I agree with you that OpenAI did with promoting artificial intelligence, because as you said, this was already used for a long period of time. Yeah. Even for categorization, there are simple models that Gen AI to make categorization of tickets, for example. So I think that they did a good job in promoting AI. But I think that, the companies need to start to realize that, they need to use AI in a smart way, because especially if we look to the more with the biggest models that we have, especially the proprietary ones, they are, let's say, in a long term, they are quite expensive, and I believe that should be used in the right use cases. And I believe that for 2024, I believe that the main topic will be, because nowadays AI it's being used in a very strong way on everything that is related with customer experience, intelligent documenting, processing, and so on. One of the areas that I believe that in the end, it's the area that will create the biggest impact. It's when we talk about critical processes inside the company. That 97% of success in models like GPT-4 are sufficient to handle this decision-making process inside the companies. So I think this will be, let's say, the mission or the challenge for 2024. And with this will come the talk about LLM orchestration, agent swarms, and so on, in order to allow, let's say, that the success rate of these big models become higher and more close to 100%, let's say.
Yes, and look, it doesn't have to be 100%. It always needs to be good enough, right? And it will never be 100%, but it's like people make mistakes as well. Although I always say, again, remember it's a tool. So, when you talk about orchestrations, about, interoperabilities and all of that, your approach should be exactly the same as, to other tools, right? We're not reinventing everything, okay? We're just adding more possibility into, we're just bringing new tools, really, for us to use. So there's a lot of things we can reuse that we know already, right? And we should do it. And yes, I think, I agree with you definitely on like 97%. When we did we've got some experience, and with using, we're using three Gen AI vendors, but with specifically with OpenAI, we did all the APIs, but we also did fine tuning models, right? So you can fit it with your own type of requests and the responses, and actually, when you kind of fit it with potential, requests and the type of responses you want to get, actually, it really, you get this feeling that it starts speaking your language. And I think this is where we're going to go with. I don't believe a lot of businesses will end up building their own models from scratch. Yeah, it's too costly, and probably will never have enough data to actually fit it. I think, again, there's going to be hybrid scenarios where we're going to use, in future, we're going to use, this LLM for these type of activities, this LLM for other types of activities. We're going to use fine-tuned models, again, for different types of activities. And I believe, this is where we are at the moment. I I think this year will bring a lot of innovation in that as well, because I believe we're gonna this year not just have LLMs as a vector models that can provide you specific responses, but I think this year will be the year where AIs will also be able to actually go and check what is like the best quality response that they can give to you. So you're going to have, internally within the engine, you're not going to have just, a word generation tool, but it will be more synchronized with fact checking and having bringing kind of like reasoning behind giving the specific response versus another.
Yeah, for sure, it will be the year of reinforcement learning and chain of thought and so on. So it will be, there will be a lot of studies on that area. So I'm expecting a lot of evolution in the models, especially, I don't know if you heard also about this startup company from MIT spin-off, Liquid AI, that they are working in the model of liquid neural networks. So there will be for sure a lot of studies on that area, and the models will live for sure.
A lot of fun. Yes.
A lot of fun, exactly. Now, just a last question, Marcin, and it's a tricky one. Yeah, it's how do you see the future of RPA with the evolution of these AI multimodal agents that we are having nowadays? What is your view? Do you think that RPA has still a space in the market for the future years or not?
Thank you for that question, and I will give you my honest opinion, which a lot of people might have a different one, and everyone has a right to have their own opinion. I actually think, specifically about RPA, that it's very unfortunate that great term as robotic process automation was never delivered by RPA vendors, right? Because they've ended up with building systems for simple task or desktop types of automations, right? And if you even ask me today or before RPA, etc., I would always say, look, for you to implement automation, you need to bring an automation that scales, okay? Because you bring automation to do more. You don't just bring automation to watch the automation. You need to bring the automation to do more. So I'm more towards like your world, telcos and infrastructure and services, APIs type of automations, and that's the right way to build the automations. And I always say, don't use our RPA as what we call RPA, which I don't even like to call it RPA because there's very little R and very little like P in it. And probably even less A or it's very little of that there. So I say, actually now, again, don't make technology choices before you want to implement automation. You know what you want to automate. Okay, do it the other way. This is
exactly
what a lot of vendors do, and when they fail. And look, I think on the RPA market, what we're going to see that the two things are going to happen. I think there's going to be consolidation of the vendors, and I think RPA vendors will be forced to actually look at the different types of automation. So we might see RPA and BPM kind of merging together and going closer together. But I from my experience, I look at it as you actually need a real shift in architecture of your automation. Because if you start building, automations with a large BPMs or large, RPAs architectures that like they don't scale themselves or economically are not viable from the very beginning, that's like a wrong decision from the very beginning. And if you made a mistake at the very beginning, the project only is going to be unsuccessful. So for you to be successful, you actually need to look much more at maybe like lightweight approach. Okay, have architectures. Think of it, cloud first. Okay, scalability is super important when you do automation. Don't use automation if it doesn't scale, because you will never deliver on ROI. Think of it as even if you're thinking about one type of a process, you shouldn't just be limited by one type of the process, because the vision for automation is much bigger than one process within the business. It's about how you're gonna deliver the future of your processes, right? So it's much bigger. You need to always start with technologies that have right architecture and scalable architectures. In IT, if you're in IT, that once you build an architecture, it's very difficult to change it. In most places, it's like impossible. If you don't build, the right architecture from the very beginning that is ready for cloud, that is ready for scalability, etc., then this is when you can like start your building blocks for automations, and then you can like deliver, deliver the benefits of automation, and really think of it like as a robotic process automation, which what I would call would be a proper term for really scalable. Scalable automations. And yes, I think future of RPA is, if you're just going to stay with a desktop automations, I wouldn't even like start there, because to me this is bringing legacy on top of legacy from the day one.
Of course, that's for sure. I don't think that if companies are out there, expecting to start the journey of automation, I think that they should think very seriously if they should start with RPA or not. Because more and more I see that, these kind of automations that are, as you said, that are not scalable and are somehow static, I believe that we will have more reliable solutions for a dynamic approach in terms of automation in a near future, especially with the introduction of these AI multimodal that are coming and becoming more stronger. Yeah,
100%. Okay. We're doing that. We're doing the automations now that it can solve the problems on the way of executing the process, right?
Exactly.
So that's, I believe that's going to be the way. And again, like to me, scalability, building all the security and service catalogs around it, like that's what you need to have. Okay, like that's where we start. And and I sometimes hear from people that they say, oh, we've done successful project with like 50 processes automated. I don't think this is. I believe the businesses have many more processes than 50. And if you're an automation expert, you should have that vision for like automating up to 80%, we call, of the business, right? That's how you should approach it, not like with just finding a niche where you can like plug your toys into, right?
Exactly, Marcin. Well, Marcin, I think that we don't have enough time to continue. It was a really very interesting conversation with you, Marcin. I hope that we will have in the future another session that we can continue to talk. It's always a pleasure to brainstorm with you. And well, let's keep in touch. I don't know if you have some last words that you would like to give to the audience.
Well, Pedro, thank you very much for that chat. I really enjoyed it. I not only enjoyed that one, but the previous conversations we had together. It's always a pleasure, and I think we kind of share of the similar visions of how the automation world is going to look like in the future. So it's always good to share not just theory, but also practical approaches to that. Look, I would say it is very important that, we just connect all together. So, it's very easy to find me on LinkedIn. If somebody is interested, just go find me on LinkedIn, connect, let's have a conversation. Pedro, at any time you would like to continue this one, I'm open to it, of course. And yeah, thank you very much for having me.
Thank you once again, Marcin. So, Transformers, it was a pleasure to have you here in this second episode. For the next episode, we will have Tom Allen from the AI Journal. It will be an enthusiastic discussion around AI world and what we should expect for next year in terms of news and evolutions on the researches and models that we are already seeing nowadays from a proprietary perspective and also from open source perspective. So stay tuned, follow up us on the LinkedIn page, and we will keep you updated with the latest news about intelligent automation and, of course, artificial intelligence. Stay tuned and see you in the next episode.